Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video. And before we get into the topic of the video, I do want to mention I did promise a giveaway for the mini set bundle that was going to be released, and yes, it is out. It'll be out later today, it's probably out as you watch this video. But regardless, the giveaway, basically all you have to do to enter it is type in the comment what card you are most excited to try out from the mini set, and I'll pick it randomly from there, and then I'll try and get it to you as quickly as I can. I'll announce the winner tomorrow. So yeah, you'll have to wait a little bit because there's no way to get it to you ahead of time, but that's the way we're going to do it. And again, as I also promised, if we hit the next 1,000 subs, 21,000 subs by this Sunday when we do our 20-hour stream, I'll do at least one more giveaway. So hit that sub button if you haven't already. But anyways, let's go into the topic of the video. What are the best cards going to be from the Darkmoon Races mini set for both Standard and Wild? It's always a fun debate to have, and I have my insight, my predictions on that. So let's take a look at the top 5 best cards from Darkmoon Races for both Wild and Standard. So we'll start with Wild at number 5. I think Armor Vendor will be the 5th best card. It's a 1-mana 1/3 with Battle Cry. Both the players get 4 armor, and it slots in really well into like an Odd Warrior deck where you can play it on 1. Reno lot can like it because like there's not enough good anti-aggro 1-drops. Like you have Misters and Mixtures, and that's about it. You can slot this in there. It can help you with some early game, and I think those decks desperately need that. Even maybe a Reno Priest, if it needs more anti-aggro, can run it. I think it just slots in into a decent amount of decks in Wild. Plus, we're going to be rocking Hostage Walk, where I'm going to infinitely gain armor for both me and my opponent, and then maybe I'll be able to drop a Plate Breaker if I feel like actually killing them. Number 5 for Standard, I have Spiked Wheel, the 1-mana 0/2 weapon for Warrior, but if you have, armor, you gain +3 attack, so 1-mana War Axe. We all know how good Warrior is in Standard right now, and I think a certain amount of decks will be able to utilize this, especially like ETC Warrior, where you want to get to that endgame combo with your Rattle Gore. It's just cheap, flexible. The only negative I can think of is Corsair Cash, and you want to hit like Ankar. Maybe that negates the effectiveness of drawing this weapon because you don't want to draw it with Corsair Cash, but I think it'll see a good amount of play in multiple Warrior decks in Standard, so I definitely have to consider that one on the list. Number 4 is a Paladin card, the 3-mana 4/5 minion Imprisoned Celestial. It stays dormant for 2 turns, and when it awakens, you have a spell burst of give your minions Divine Shield. I do think this can slot into Odd Paladin. This one, it might be a stretch. It might be, you don't want to do 3 mana, do nothing in Odd Paladin, but again, Lothraxion has been really good in that deck, and it's so solid. Like you play it, and then you just flood the board and give everything Divine Shield, and there's very few decks in the game that can deal with that, and that's going to be a very good thing. The only thing is how many spells you have in Odd Paladin, and you run like the secret package, you have Christology, there's a decent amount of spells that I think it makes it consistent enough, and then you just create this really resilient, sticky board, and I think Odd Paladin will really enjoy this card. It'll definitely see experimentation with, and I think it is definitely a consideration to be like a meta-defining card in Odd Paladin. And number 4 for Standard, I'm going to go with Illidari Studies, the 1-mana spell for Demon Hunter. This card is just going to be really good in Demon Hunter, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to elevate Demon Hunter to go back to like that tier 1 status, but it's 1 mana. Your next Outcast card costs 1 less, plus you discover 1. So again, you immediately, whatever you discover, if you have the mana, you can play the Outcast ability of it. You can set up a 5-mana Skull. You can set up a 4-mana Skull. It stacks, it multiplies that. That can be crazy. You can get this off Wand Maker. The possibilities are really high for this card, and it can make a deck like the OTK Demon Hunter good enough. You have some Soul Fragment stuff. Soul Fragment's not far off. Maybe this pushes Soul Fragment back over the top. So I think Illidari Studies just factors into too many good Demon Hunter strategies that are already really decent, just not quite at that tier 1 ability, but it might push it over the top, and I definitely think this will be a major player in Demon Hunter for its entire run. And for Wild, I have at number 3 Hysteria, the dual class Priest and Warlock card that basically it's like Mass Hysteria, but you pick 1 minion that will keep attacking until it dies. And in my initial review, I gave it like a 2 in Standard Wild, but the more I've thought about it, the more insane this card seems to be in like a deck like Big Priest or Dark Lair Warlock, where you have a 0-mana giant and you just throw down a giant and play Hysteria and clear the board. That can be one of the issues with the deck. That's why you like Broom, right? To clear up stuff, and it can be a board wipe. It's just a very like kind of flexible AoE in that regard, and I think you can abuse it the most in Wild. Plus, there's potential OTKs with like Wretched Tiller and like Death Speaker. There's a lot of potential for this card, so I'm going to put it as number 3. I think it's way stronger in Wild than it is in Standard, but it might be really good in both. I may have underrated this one, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Card's still not out yet. I still haven't played with it, but I think in Wild, it's definitely going to have some moments there. Standard, the third best card, I'm going to give it to Libram of Judgment, the 7-mana 5/3 weapon for Paladin, and if it's corrupted, you gain lifesteal. I remember back in the day when I played the Death Knight Uther, I would play it literally just for the weapon in my control Paladin decks. That was 9 mana to get this weapon. It's effectively this weapon with lifesteal, and it was worth it. Even in Wild, where it was like hyper aggressive, that 9 mana, that heal was insane. And this guy, you can discount it with like Aldor and the 1-drop down to like 2 mana, right? You can -2, and another -2 with the 1-drops. That's 6 mana off of that. It costs like 1. It's immediately corrupted. It's insane amount of damage output. That's 15 damage plus lifesteal. I think this might put Libram Paladin like over the top. It's already been really strong for a very long time, and this card is just ridiculous in it, and I think it's just going to be one of those cards. It's like, oh, guess we got to run Sticky Fingers and Ooze again, even though Evolved Shaman's been nerfed. It's going to be pretty ridiculous in my opinion. Wild, we have at number 2, Backfire, the Warlock spell. You take 3 damage, you draw 3 cards. I just don't see why you're not running this in Dark Lair Warlock. Like, that deck is already arguably the best deck in Wild, and now you're giving it draw 3 plus synergy with Dark Lair and getting more mana crystals. It's just, I can't believe this card is being made with Dark Lair being around, but I guess in Standard it's not quite as problematic, although it's up there. This card is just going to be insane in that deck in my opinion, and is going to maybe actually make them have to deal with Dark Lair yet again in Wild, but we'll have to wait and see. In number 2 for Standard, we have Spark Joy Cheat. It's the 3-mana 3/3 rogue minion, and if you're holding a secret in your hand, you get to cast it and you draw a card. So you get a 3/3, you get a cheat 2 mana in playing the secret, and you draw a card. That's insane. Like, I think I gave this a 4 in my review for some reason when it really should be a 5. But yeah, Rogue is already basically the best class in Standard by a good amount. It's like that or Warrior. And this card on top of everything is like, how are you ever going to run a Rogue out of cards? They're going to have insane tempo with this by cheating out a secret at the same time. It's just a ridiculous card. Rogue is already insane. I'm feeling some Rogue nerfs pretty heavy in the first balance patch after this mini set, and this card might be a part of that, or it might be the reason why it ends up happening, or maybe number 1 on the list might explain that a bit more too. But yeah, this card is crazy. You're never going to run a Rogue out of cards, and you're certainly not going to out-tempo them. Honorable mentions for me have to go to Keyboard and Ivory, the 5-mana 4/5 dual class Rogue and Mage legendary minion, mainly for its rogue implications. I do think it'll be a decent little value generator. Again, I think it'll be better after rotation, but it might see some play right away just with the synergies with Vendetta, Backstab, Prep, all the like. Really solid card. Another one being Rally, the 4-mana resurrect spell that for Paladin Priest that gives a 1, 2, or 3 cost minion. I just think with Nazmani, Bloodweaver, and Sethic and Priest, this thing is kind of ridiculous and is likely to see a good amount of play in Standard just to enable some absolute broken miracle turns, and who knows what combos you can build around that. But there's a lot of implications for this card. But again, for me, I think it's more Priest than Paladin, although you do have like Goody 2 Shields and the Prime, things like that. It could work out well in Paladin as well. And the last honorable mention would be Conjure Mana Biscuit, the 2-mana spell for Mage. It adds a biscuit to your hand that refreshes 2 mana crystals. I think this has more implications in Wild, where if Quest Mage ever came back, this card would just be incredible with it, where you can just get free mana with Apprentice, cycle it for later, do stuff with Flame Waker. There's just a lot of crazy things you can do, and maybe it's good enough to give you that aggressive edge, tempo edge against an aggressive deck. Maybe Quest Mage will come back, but yeah, Conjure Mana Biscuit, definitely one of the cards to look out for to allow some crazy stuff in the future. And the number 1 card for Wild is also the number 1 card for Standard, and that is Nitro Boost Potion. The 1-mana spell, give your give it a minion +2 attack or if it's corrupted, give your weapon +2 attack. So it's like Deadly Poison plus Abuse Sergeant for 1 mana. And when you have cards like Secret Passage in the game, this is just insanely busted. In Wild, it goes into Odd Rogue, it goes into Kingsbane Rogue, auto includes, just ridiculous. And in Standard, you can play them like weapon, like a self-sharpening sword rogue, aggro rogue, and maybe even you put it into like the combo rogue or the secret rogue. Maybe it's just good enough there too. It's just cheap and flexible. It's ridiculous. This card is just crazy. I would have made it 2 mana to begin with. Like, I don't know. It just seems crazy. It seems insane, and definitely is my pick for the top card from the mini set for both Standard and Wild. So again, let me know in the comments below, part of the giveaway, what card are you most excited about in the mini set? I'll pick a winner, announce it in tomorrow's video, which will be the AMA recap that Igzar had, which talked about Wild in depth. So tune in for that video. It should be a good one. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.